This is Max Blokovich, and today is May 2nd, 2014. I am interviewing Dennis Winn, a longtime parishioner at Immaculate Heart of Mary Parish in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Thanks for speaking with me today. Please restate your name and tell what year you joined Immaculate Heart of Mary.
My name is Dennis Winn, and we joined the parish in 1963.
What was it?
The end of 1963.
What was it like then?
Well, it was much different than now. Everything was older. We didn't have the church, the new church. We didn't have, of course, the gymnasium or anything else like that. And at the time when my kids started school here, it started at second grade. They had no first grade. They had no kindergarten at that time.
What was your family at the time when you joined? Name of your spouse as well as the name and ages of your children.
Okay, when we joined, my wife's name was Carolyn, and our children were Dennis II, Debbie, and Scott. And when we joined, Denny was 6, and Debbie was 5, and Scott was 4.
Who was the pastor when you joined? Please discuss your relationship with him and give your impressions of his role in our parish.
I believe Father Kilgore was here just before he got transferred, and then he was replaced, I think, because I remember Father Kilgore as being the first one here when we joined.
What do you remember about him the most?
He was very good at organizing things and getting things going. He was probably that's what started the parish, really, was his influence. He was able to get people to do work and do jobs and stuff like that to make things work out.
What other priests do you have memories of? Please give their names and what you most remember about them.
Father Flater was probably our favorite priest. And what was neat about him is his anniversary was always the same anniversary of my wife's and I wedding anniversary. It was his anniversary of being a priest. Like when it was our 25th anniversary, it was his 25th. When it was our 50th wedding anniversary, it was his 50th anniversary of being a priest. And he was neat. And where we live, we have a pool. And Father Flater and Father Joyce would come over. In fact, if we were gone on the weekend up to the cottage, we said just come on over and swim when you want on a hot day. And they kept their swimming suits out in the bathhouse, and they'd come home. They'd come over there when we were gone, and they'd come over when we were there, and we'd swim with them. We just enjoyed those two priests probably the most because we did the most with them.
Yeah. And you already stated how your children went to IHM school. When they were growing up in the parish, what was the atmosphere of the school, and who were the principals and teachers that really made impressions on your children?
I think was it Sister Emily? Was she a principal?
Maybe.
Emil.
Who?
You think it's Sister Emil?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sister Emil. She was kind of hard.
Yeah.
She was kind of tough. Nobody really liked her.
Yeah.
They thought she was just really a tough person to deal with. One nice thing I should mention that our kids, we lived south of 28th Street, so the school had a bus when we first came. And then when the bus went, they had a used bus, and then that fell down, and they got to get a new one because that one broke down.
Yeah.
The first one broke down, and we had different drivers. And I asked my kids before I came here, what did they remember? And my son Scott remembered that the driver, his wife used to sit in the back, and if kids were doing what they weren't supposed to do, like getting out of their seat to hit somebody else, she'd come up and slap them on the back or something. He said you couldn't get away with that now, but she got away with that then. And I remember I was on the bus committee. They were all parents from out that side, and we had to pay for the thing. And when I was president for a couple of years, and the toughest thing was we had rules where the kids had to do, and the bus driver could say, you're going to be off the bus, and they'd report to me and say they're going to be off for 2 days or 3 days or a week. And then the parents would call, what do you mean we're paying money for the bus and now you can't in? Well, your kids got to behave, the rules and stuff. So there was kind of interesting things, and that went all of my kids, because besides the first 3 I mentioned, we had Paul, who was born in 1965, and Mary Rose, who was born in 1969. So they were both born after we started here. Now, when Paul started, they had a first grade here at that time. And when our youngest one, Mary Rose, was here, they also had a first grade then.
Okay. Were there any really teachers that gave a really like lasting impact on any of your children?
You know, probably, but I can't really remember the names of them. I remember more ones from high school that they mentioned than the grade school. Mrs. Rosenbach.
Oh yeah.
They all like Mrs. Rosenbach, and Mr. Oh, I can't think of his. He was the science teacher.
Bergman. Yeah.
Bergman, and the other man. At that time, they only had like about 2 or 3 male teachers. Most of them were female.
I only knew Mr. Bergman
Okay.
and Mrs. Rosenbach. I didn't know.
There was
the
one other one I can't remember his name, but they liked all 3 of those teachers.
You already said how you were in the bus committee, but what other groups did you get involved in? Please go through them like one at a time and give your early memories of what the group did.
Okay. I was elected to the school board in 1978, and at that time it was 3-year terms, and then I was voted for a second 3-year term, so I was on for 6 years, from 1978 to 1984. In the last 2 years, I was president of the group, or the school board. Also, under Father Julian, when he came on, I was picked to replace somebody went off the parish council, and so I went on that for 5 years, and was on when he was there and Father Tufts were there. And I was on there, and then I've been a lector ever since they've had lectors start. I think since.
What did you really do in like the parish council? Like, what was the basis of that group for?
No, the parish finance council.
Oh, the parish finance.
Finance
Just
council.
to like in charge of all the money for the parish.
Yes.
Cool. Did you have any like people you met through the group, like good friends that you made through being in any of like the bus committee or the school board?
Oh yeah. Well, just being through the parish.
Yeah.
See, I was an orthodontist, and I probably had about 95% of the kids in the school that had braces, and I had kids here, so
Yeah.
I knew everybody.
Yeah, I think your son. I think he's my orthodontist too. So I thought that was pretty cool when I found out I was interviewing you. How did you think the early school board committee helped IHM to grow to what it is today?
Well, I think that the way we operated, it helped. While I was on there, we had a change of principals, and so we had to work and interview, and then it came down to 2 that were very close, and the votes were close before we could finally get a vote that voted one person in at that time. But everybody was trying to do what was best for the students and for the school.
Yeah, well, you guys definitely did a good job for what IHM is today. What are your specific memories about what you have at the new things at IHM? Like before these new things started coming in new ways, like how did you really have it back then when IHM started?
Well, it was, everything was closer, I think. You just knew more people, which of course is going to happen because as I've gotten older, I don't know the young people. If they're not my kids' age,
Yeah.
I just don't know them as well. And it was funny, we were going there, I said, they never have anything for us. Now they got groups that seem like they didn't have groups and organizations. They had stuff for the older people when they were younger, and they had stuff for the kids yet and stuff like that, but they didn't have. But I used to like the picnics when they used to be out at Dutton Park. They were more fun, but it was smaller, and they have since then over the years they've chosen to have them here at the parish, which works out well too.
What about new buildings that came in at IHM? Like, what was the first gym like and stuff like that? That kind of
the first gym was the old church, was the original old church, and after they built the new church, they used that as a gym. That's now been torn down.
Oh, where was the old church at then?
Right over here.
Oh.
Right over where the parking. Where the school, where the that was a convent. Okay, it was over by that, over where the gym is now, on this side of that.
Oh,
They
yeah.
didn't have a drive going through or anything like
Oh,
that.
that's cool.
See, since we came on, in fact, well, our first 3 kids were going here, they added on 2 wings to the school. At that time, classes were big. Each of the kids, they had 2 of each class. And each of the kids, there was anywhere from 30 to 32 kids per class. And, they taught them real well. But nowadays, like the public schools, if they have to have more than 25, they just can't handle them,
Yeah, it's
But kids were different then, too.
yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. What's different at IHM now that you miss about earlier?
You know, Father Troy has made a big difference, but the big difference was when we went from the priests, of Immaculate Heart, when we went from them to the diocesan priests. Father Julian, I was on the finance council with both Father Julian and Father Tufts, and they just weren't. I don't know. They just didn't seem as holy as the priest did, and the other ones, and they just seemed to give like better homilies, better sermons. They just seemed to connect better with you.
Yeah. Have any of the priests or parishioners really helped you through tough times that you had?
Yeah, when our oldest daughter, she had MS, and she ended up dying at 28 of that. Father Hollywood was just so great with her, and that was the main thing. Other than that, we've been blessed. We haven't had any problems at all. Other than that, so.
That's great. How has your life been enriched by being a member at IHM Parish?
Well, if you're going to be a good Catholic, this has been a good parish to belong to. And it's just, I like the parish. I like the priests that we've had. I like the sermons. Like I say, I've been a lector ever since they started those. So I like taking part in that. I've been very blessed in my life, and I've given in they say if you give, things will come back, and it's so true. It just is absolutely true. But I just have always enjoyed the priests. They've just been making you feel holier, and you want to be, holier and blessed and stuff. But that's it.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about IHM, whether it's what you like about it being new or just what you like in general, just about being here?
Well, I just like it in general because it's just they've got so many things going for so many groups now, and this is just increased over the years. Now when they have stuff for the seniors, they call them the boomers and over. I finally reached a group I can be in, and the other thing is the golf league. I've been in that, and I was president of that for about 4 or 5 years. And it was funny. I was a kid, and I thought when I first went in, I'd be one and done, or maybe 2 and through, and I ended up being president for 5 years. So, and I enjoyed that, and I played in that since the late 1960s. So,
was the golf league a IHM run thing?
yes,
Awesome.
the IHM Men's Golf League. Yeah.
And that's been going on since early back.
Since the 50s, I think.
Oh wow, that's really cool. Thank you for speaking with me today on behalf of the parish. Thank you for all you've done to make Immaculate Heart of Mary such a wonderful parish.
Okay, thank you.
And